Today we are going to be speaking on self-love. I think of self-love as one of the most important or the most important type of love. I think that self-love can be likened to a reservoir or a storage area within ourselves. And the depth and the capacity of our self-love influences greatly influences how much love we can give others or receive from others. Before I move on to ways in which we can build self-love, I want to clarify that self-love is different from narcissism. Self-love is not self-interest at the active endangerment of others. It is entirely different from that. True self-love influences how much we can love others and how much we can let others love us. I truly believe that. So, what are the ways in which you can build self-love? The first thing I'm going to speak about is do not be a villain to yourself. What I mean by that is that many times, because of the ways that we have been treated by others, we continue that role. We take up the role of a villain even long after the external villain has gone away. So maybe you were not loved properly at home, and I know that that has deep psychological effects. But I also believe that we can work on reprogramming our minds. I believe that there are very few things that we cannot do mentally for ourselves. And so, let's say you were bullied in school. You were told that you're not good looking, you're ugly, you're dumb, you're dull, you're boring, whatever it is that you were told by another. You do not have to continue that role once the person is no longer in your life, or even if the person is still in your life. You do not have to partake in your own victimization. You do not have to continue telling yourself all the wrong and negative things that you have heard. But I truly believe that we do not have to take up the mantle that someone else has used against us, right? Let's say it can be likened to someone, whipping you with a cane or something, and then they leave the cane, and then you pick up the cane and continue whipping yourself. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And I know it might be hard to stop it, but I believe that with effort we can stop being our own villains. We can stop hating ourselves. You do not have to continue the negative self-talk. You do not have to continue the negative self-talk. You do not have to continue the negative outlook on yourself. And you might catch yourself doing that, but whenever you catch yourself actively victimizing your own self, actively being a villain, you need to course correct. So what I mean is that if you're doing something and you find yourself saying, oh, I'm so dull, how can I not do this, I'm such a stupid person, and you catch yourself doing that, you can immediately course correct and say, oh, I'm not stupid, I'm learning. Everyone learns how to do things. I might be slow at getting this, but I know I can get it. What does that cost you? Nothing. You can be your own hero, right? You can actively support your own self even while recovering from the hurt that another has placed on you. So the primary thing I'm going to say, the number one thing in this video is do not be your own villain. So it doesn't matter that your mother or your father or your friends or your cousins or your neighbors thought you were ugly, thought you were horrible, thought you were awkward, thought you were this. You do not have to also think the same way that they do. You are allowed to think contrary to everything that other people have thought about you, as long as it doesn't support you. It doesn't support your psyche, it doesn't support your mental health. Positive self-talk is very important. So you do not have to continue the negative cycle that they have started for you, that external factors have started. You can love yourself. You are worthy of love, right? You're worthy of love. And I need to say this, I need to also add that just because something is not valuable to everyone does not mean it's not valuable, right? Think of foods, think of jewelry, cosmetic, everything that we buy. Not everyone buys it, not everyone sees value in it, but it does not mean that it's not valuable, right? It does not mean that it's not valuable. I might not like a certain product, I might hate it, but if there's one person willing to pay a lot for it, it is valuable. So if you are that one person that sees value in yourself, you are valuable. That is it. You are valuable. You do not need 100 people to see value in you to be valuable. So stop being your own villain. Another way that we act as villains to ourselves is when we talk ourselves out of doing things that we really know that we should do, things that would benefit us, things that give us joy and bring us joy, right? Just think of all these fairy tales, right? Think of the fairy tale of Cinderella. Imagine that after she had done her dress and was about to go to the party, then she started telling herself, oh, but my clothes is not too perfect. What if my clothes is not the most beautiful clothes at the ball? Let me not go. I will not go because what if my clothes is not the most beautiful clothes at the ball? I'm not gonna go because what if I'm not the most beautiful person there? What if I'm not the most I'm not the smart I'm not the smartest person at the ball? What if I do not know how to? Imagine that she started saying that to herself. She would have been her own villain, right? And that's what many of us do. We talk ourselves out of things that will be useful to us, things that will benefit us, things that will give us joy. We procrastinate. I do that. Okay, I'm working on that, but I do that a lot also, right? We procrastinate things that give us joy, that bring us happiness. And in so doing, we are acting as villains to ourselves. Imagine a movie where someone has to face down an evil, right? And then before they go on this journey to develop their skills, the hero's journey to develop their skills to face down the evil, someone comes to meet them and say, do not go on this journey. You are not prepared for this journey. You are not prepared for this journey. Do not go on this journey, right? What will we call that person? We will call the person a villain. We'll call the person an obstacle. And many times we do that to ourselves. We actively forget that we gain the skills that we need while in the journey, while on the way. We gain the skills. We do not gain those skills in being static. We do not gain those skills hiding from failure. We gain the skills that we need on the way, right? And so all the procrastination that we do, all the talking ourselves out of things because we are not ready, is being our own villains. So how do we practice self-love? By catching ourselves being our own villain and saying, no, I'm not going to be my own villain. I do not have the best, I do not have the skills for this, but I will learn on the way. That is how to love yourself, by not being your own villain, by not actively talking yourself out of things that will give you fulfillment, that you know will give you fulfillment, that will expand your soul, your consciousness, your happiness, whatever it is. By not talking yourself out of those things, that is how to love yourself. By not taking up the evil that someone else has meted out upon you and meting it out on yourself, that is how to love yourself. Do not continue the negative self-talk. Do not talk yourself out of things that will be beneficial for you. Do not say, oh, I'm not worthy of this thing. You will be worthy because you try. You will be worthy because you want to be worthy. That is it. That is it. The next thing I'm going to talk about is balancing our external and internal personas. What I mean is, who are you when no one is watching? I know it is natural for us to present as different persons to different people, but if we really dissect our behaviors outside on social media and so on, we can tell what it is that internally we respect. For example, if you are taking a lot of pictures of books, like I am, if you're taking pictures of books, posting on your social media, if you're presenting as someone who is, a voracious reader outside and to other people, and you do not do any of that when you are alone by yourself, when there's no one watching, you will lose self-respect. You will lose respect for yourself. And self-respect is a foundational part of self-love. So I think that it's important for us to know what it is that we present to others, and what that tells us about ourselves. I think it's very important to know what it is that we do when others are watching, that we truly would like to do when no one is watching. I don't know if that makes sense, and I really hope it does. But we need to be people that we respect. That's where I'm going. We need to be people that we respect, even when no one is watching. We need to embody the persona of someone that we respect, even when no one is watching. The next thing that I'm going to talk about that can help us build self-love is to set ourselves up to win. What I mean is that do not expect to be an overnight success. In almost every aspect of life, they tell you that things take time. It's the same for self-love. You're not going to watch this video or any video at all and automatically just become someone who embodies self-love 100% when you have not operated on that frequency for a very long time or at all. Think of self-love as a goal and give yourself achievable targets to meet. Just like you would not expect a child that was just born today to start climbing, or walking, it's the same way you cannot expect yourself to just embody self-love all the time when you have not done that at all. So set yourself up to win by not over expecting much of yourself all at once. The last but not the least that I'm going to talk about is to manage your narrative. Manage your narrative. In order to love ourselves, we need to learn how to manage the narrative of our lives. If we do not narrate our lives, we will adapt the narration that others give our lives, right? Our narration, the way in which we perceive the story of our life, matters a lot. It matters a lot. So let's say you've been working on your self-love, you've had a few days where you are just embodying this person that loves yourself, where you're just this amazing person who is talking positively to themselves, encouraging themselves, doing all the things that someone who loves themselves will do. And then you have, after a few days, you meet a stumbling block, you have a really bad day or a couple of bad days. If you just throw in the towel and be like, oh, I knew it, if you just subconsciously have that thought like, oh, I knew it, what was I even expecting? Or this is just who I'm going to be, I'm just this moody person, I'm just this horrible person. If you narrate your life that way, you are setting yourself up to fail. But if you tell the story of your life, if you narrate your experience as this, oh, I've had a few days of sunshine, this is just a couple of days of rain, it's not going to rain forever. If you perceive your bad days as just the weather, oh, it's just raining right now, I'm going to have sun again, I'm going to be happy again, you win. If you narrate your life well, if you give the experience of your life a good narration, you will win. So learn to narrate your life in a way that embodies self-love. And what that means is that make accommodations for days where you're not the best. If you had a friend that is an amazing person, that makes you happy, a friend that you love their company, and then they have a few days where they are not at their best, would you break up the friendship over that? No, you wouldn't. Right? You wouldn't. So why would you do the same to yourself? Why would you say, oh, because you're having a couple of days where you're not at your best, then you write yourself off? So in order to love ourselves, we need to take control of the narrative of our life. The days where you cannot embody self-love, you're just having your off days, you're just having a rainy day, and the sun will come up again. That is it. I hope that you have found these tips on self-love helpful. If you have, please like and subscribe and share, and I would see you in my next video.